ChatGPT said. All right, we'll go with lighthearted and romantic comedy, for I said, "Hey, sweetie." The alien princess blushed and said, "Yes, darling." And we laughed together at around 1,500 words. "Here's your story." I said, "Hey, sweetie." The alien princess blushed and said, "Yes, darling." And we laughed together. The first time I met Princess Leora, she was holding a piece of bread like it was a dangerous artifact. "This is made of wheat?" she asked, eyes wide as though she'd uncovered a classified weapon. "Yes," I said. "It's toast." She stared at the golden brown slice suspiciously. "Your species cooks grass seeds, flattens them, then burns them?" "Exactly." She tilted her head. "Humans are insane." That was the start of our friendship. Well, technically it started when I saved her from tripping over her own gown during a diplomatic reception on Earth, but the toast conversation sealed the deal. Over the next few months, we became unlikely companions. I was just an engineer working in the Galactic Alliance Cultural Exchange Program, and she was the heir to the throne of Eloria, a glittering world where people wore shimmering silks and spoke in sentences so poetic they sounded like song lyrics. Our worlds couldn't have been more different, but for some reason, we clicked. It happened one quiet afternoon aboard the Alliance research station. I was in the break room, trying to coax the coffee dispenser into giving me something that didn't taste like recycled sadness, when she walked in. Her long silver hair shimmered under the fluorescent lights, and her ceremonial headband caught the glow like a crown. She wore a casual outfit by Elorian standards, still so elaborate it would make a royal wedding planner weep. She sat across from me, chin in hand, watching me press buttons on the coffee machine with the intensity of someone observing a dangerous ritual. "You always fight with that thing," she said. "I'm not fighting," I replied. "I'm negotiating." "Is that why you threatened to throw it out the airlock last week?" I pretended not to hear. She smiled at me with that faintly mischievous look she always got right before doing something that would scandalize her palace advisors. That was when the idea hit me. Half joke, half test. I leaned back in my chair and said casually, "Hey, sweetie." Her eyes widened instantly, a faint blush blooming across her cheeks. Her silver hair shimmered even brighter against the soft pink tint in her face. "Yes, darling," she replied, completely straight-faced. For a moment, we just stared at each other in stunned silence. Then, without warning, we both burst into laughter. The sound echoed through the break room, bouncing off the sterile walls like warm sunlight. It was ridiculous, it was awkward, it was perfect. From that day on, sweetie and darling became our inside joke. When she'd walk into the lab while I was elbow-deep in a disassembled scanner, she'd say, "Need help with that, darling?" in the most exaggerated royal tone possible. And when she struggled to use human cutlery at dinner, I'd pass her a fork with, "Here you go, sweetie," just to see her smirk. It became our little rebellion against the stiffness of diplomacy. Everyone else on the station was so careful, so formal around her. But she seemed to crave the casualness, the silly, imperfect way humans interacted. One time, she asked me why humans teased each other so much. "It's how we show affection," I said. Her expression softened. "Elorians don't tease. We write poems." "Poems?" "Yes. Long ones. Sometimes they take days to recite." "That sounds exhausting." "It is," she admitted, laughing. "Our friendship, and whatever this sweetie/darling thing was, might have stayed a harmless inside joke if not for the Galactic Summit. The summit was a huge deal. Leaders from dozens of worlds gathered on the station to sign new trade agreements. My job was simple: keep the translation systems running. Her job was, well, be a princess. It was during a formal dinner when the trouble started. Leora was seated at the high table, flanked by dignitaries. I was stuck a few seats down, quietly eating something that claimed to be pasta, but tasted suspiciously like space glue. Halfway through, she caught my eye. She smiled that dangerous smile. I shook my head, mouthing, "Don't you dare." She tilted her head, pretending to consider. Then, loud enough for everyone at the high table to hear, she called out, "Darling, could you pass me the salt?" The entire room went silent. Every ambassador, minister, and trade representative froze mid-bite. Someone dropped a fork. I swear I could hear the sound of 50 different political advisors scribbling notes for damage control. I passed her the salt as casually as possible, trying not to laugh. "Here you go, sweetie." The collective gasp was so loud it might have registered on the station's seismic sensors.
And then she laughed.
Not the polite, restrained laugh of a royal at a formal event, but a real, joyful laugh. The kind you can't fake. The ice was broken. Conversation resumed. And to my surprise, a few of the ambassadors even smiled. Later, I found her leaning against a railing overlooking the station's viewport, watching the stars drift by. "Do you have any idea what you just started?" I asked. "Yes," she said simply, her eyes sparkling. I started laughing. "You're supposed to be diplomatic." "I am diplomatic. I'm just my kind of diplomatic." I leaned beside her. "You know, you could have gotten me in trouble." She shrugged. "Maybe. But you looked like you needed someone to call you darling." The summit ended without disaster, and somehow our little game became legendary on the station. Crew members started jokingly calling each other sweetie in the hallways. A couple of engineers put up a sign in the break room that read official sweetie/darling zone. Even Captain Vera, who had the emotional range of a brick, once greeted me with, "Morning, darling," before stomping off without another word. Leora claimed it was a cultural exchange victory. I said it was chaos. She said chaos was fun. One evening, just before she was due to return to Eloria, we sat in the observation lounge, drinking terrible coffee and watching a comet pass by. "So," I said, "this is it, huh? You go back to your shiny palace. I go back to fixing broken scanners." "You could visit," she said lightly. "Eloria's not exactly a tourist destination for humans."
"True.
"But I could invite you." I raised an eyebrow. "As what? Your royal engineer?" She pretended to think.
"No."
"As my sweetie." I laughed, shaking my head. "Pretty sure your advisors would have a heart attack." "Then it would be worth it," she said with a grin.
We didn't say goodbye that night.
Instead, we sat there, sipping bad coffee, trading dumb jokes, and laughing at nothing in particular. Because sometimes, the best connections in the galaxy start with one silly word.